Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, today is our new episode of our series from the lives of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And today, inshallah, we will talk about Juleybeeb. Juleybeeb, the name in Arabic, is a miniature form of jilbab. And jilbab means thawb, the dress that used to be dressed by men at that time. Juleybeeb is a very important companion. He's not very well known among us. And personally, in every prayer, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me to Juleybeeb on the day of judgment as a gift or as a servant. As a gift or as a servant. Why do I do this? Because Juleybeeb will go to Jannah. How do I know? We will know from the story of Juleybeeb. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him. Juleybeeb belongs to Bani Tha'laba. It's a small family in Medina, and they were from the Ansar. They were from the Ansar, which means that he's a citizen of Yathrib. But he didn't belong to Aus nor to Khazraj. He didn't belong to one of these two big tribes of Medina. The Ansars are the supporters of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who received Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and offered him their protection. When Juleybeeb was young, when he was a child, he didn't have family, and he would go here and there, would move between houses, from one place to another, and he would stage jokes, and he would start to kind of like give this atmosphere of happiness wherever he goes, because he would joke, because he would laugh, because he would do some actions and stuff like that, and he would mingle with the women of the house in which he is. He would see them, they would stay with him without hijab, without cover, because he was a kid. And until Juleybeeb started to grow up, around 14, maybe 15, one of the Sahaba, his name is Abu Barazata al-Aslami, one of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, and then one of those days, I came into my house and I found Juleybeeb joking and laughing with my wife and my daughters. So he became jealous. He waited until Juleybeeb left, and then he told his wife, I don't want Juleybeeb to come to this house again. You don't talk to him, you don't open the door for him. And if you do, I will do this, I will do that. This is the hadith that came from Abu Barazata al-Aslami. So Juleybeeb, he used to go to these houses. We would get, some food here, some food there, and this is how he would spend his life. And he used to go to the mosque of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to sleep. Juleybeeb grew up until he became a young man, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to love him, used to smile to him. And one of those days, Juleybeeb was sitting next to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam leaned at him and he said, why don't you marry Juleybeeb? So Juleybeeb said, and who will accept me, Rasulullah, as a husband? Who will accept me, Rasulullah? I can't marry. I have nothing. I'm poor. He owned only the clothes that he had on his body. He didn't have anything. He was poor, literally poor, having nothing from this worldly life. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I will find you a wife. Juleybeeb said, no one will accept me, Rasulullah. I'm worth nothing. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, but you worth very high at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Ansar had a habit in those days. Whoever has a member of his family, a woman in his family, who has no husband, whether she has married before, whether she has not married before, would go to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and ask him if he would like to marry her. In case Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam have the intention to propose to this woman or to have her as a wife. So he would go to mention her to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say, no, I don't want her as a wife. So he will accept whoever comes and proposes to this woman. This was a habit among the Ansar. Then in one of those days came one of the Ansar from the clan of Al-Harith, a family from Al-Khazraj. And he came into the mosque. So Rasulullah called him and he said, I want to propose to you. The man was very happy and he said, of course, Rasulullah, we accept this. What an honor. Rasulullah said, I'm not proposing for myself. So the man was taken a little bit and he said, then for whom, Rasulullah? He said, I'm proposing for Juleybeeb. The man said, let me ask her mother, Rasulullah. Look at the change of the attitude of the man from being very happy, excited by the news that Rasulullah is proposing. He thought that he's proposing for himself. And then look at the change of the attitude when he said, let me ask her mother, Rasulullah. Rasulullah said, you can go and ask your wife. The man went to his wife and he said, Rasulullah is proposing to us. And she said, of course, what an honor. This is a blessing from Allah. Of course we accept. This is an honor. He said, he's not proposing for himself. The man, her husband, he said, he's not proposing for himself. He's proposed. Then she said, then for whom? One of the great companions? He said, no, it's Juleybeeb. He said, Juleybeeb? No. Juleybeeb? No. This will not happen. We have refused this and that of the greatest of the Sahaba who came to propose to your daughter, and you want her to marry Juleybeeb? This will not happen. The man said, what am I going to tell Rasulullah? She said, you tell him whatever you want. I will not let you marry my daughter to Juleybeeb. This will not happen. And they started to debate. Their voices started to get louder and louder. Their daughter heard them, and she came out from her room and she said, what are you talking about? And they said, her mother said, Rasulullah proposed for you to Juleybeeb. Juleybeeb was not handsome, and I would go and say he was ugly. So he was poor, he was ugly, he had nothing in this life except the love of Rasulullah and the proposal of Rasulullah himself on his behalf. So the daughter said, and you refuse an order from Rasulullah Rasulullah knows what he's talking about. Rasulullah knows what he's doing. Rasulullah knows what's best for all of us. So do you want to go back to Rasulullah and you say, we refuse your proposal? How come? Her mother said, what do you mean? She said, I will accept the proposal of Rasulullah. He knows better what's for my interest, what is good for my interest. The mother was taken. The father was kind of like relieved by going to Rasulullah with something good. He would not say no to Rasulullah. And the man went to Rasulullah and he said, oh Rasulullah, you do what pleases you. You see, the message here, well, it has the feeling that the man is not happy. But he said to Rasulullah, you do what you want to do. What pleases you, you do with Rasulullah. Rasulullah must have known what happened in the house. So he rose his hand and he made the dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the daughter. And he said this, oh Allah, pour your good on the daughter, or pour your good on her. Oh Allah, pour everything good on her. Oh Allah, pour everything good on her. 3 times. And then he said, oh Allah, don't make her life hard. Don't make her life hard. Don't make her life hard. Again, 3 times. You could be rich, but your life is not good. Rasulullah wanted to make sure, inshallah, that she will have a very good life. And money is part of this good life. And she will not have a hard life even with this money. Then Rasulullah asked the Sahaba or the companions, and he said, help your brother for his marriage. Some of the Sahaba went and they built a room for Juleybeeb. Some donated a mattress, some donated a carpet, some donated this, some donated that, until he had enough to start his new life. Juleybeeb married the girl for almost 3 weeks only. And then one of those days, after the 3rd week of his marriage, he heard the call to accompany Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in one of his battles. The battle's name actually is not known. But if the battle included Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is called a conquer or a ghazwa. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went out to fight the disbelievers, the mushrikeen. Juleybeeb was among the Muslim army. The battle took place until the battle ended and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam won in this battle. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked the companions, do you miss anyone? So each tribe or each family, they started to look for their own people. They would come and they say to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we miss this man, and this man. And they would go look for him. For whoever who is missed, they would go look for him among the dead. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it again, do you miss anyone? They said, yes, this man and this man and this man. And they went to look for them. And the 3rd time, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do you miss anyone? They said, no, Rasulullah, we don't miss anyone. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, but I miss Juleybeeb. Go and look for him. So a group of the companions went everywhere to look for Juleybeeb until one of them found him below a tree, dead, and 7 of the disbelievers are around him, all dead too. So he yelled, I found him, I found him. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam almost ran to Juleybeeb and he found him. When he looked at him, he said, he killed 7 of the disbelievers by himself, and then they killed him. He killed 7 of the disbelievers by himself, and they killed him. He killed 7 of the disbelievers by himself, and they killed him. He is part of me, and I am part of him. He is part of me, and I am part of him. He is part of me, and I am part of him. Whenever Rasulullah ﷺ wanted to stress something, he would say it 3 times. Then Rasulullah ﷺ carried Juleybeeb with his own arms. So Juleybeeb's body rested on the arms of Rasulullah ﷺ alone. No one helped Rasulullah ﷺ carrying Juleybeeb. And Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, may Allah be pleased with him, said, Wallahi, Rasulullah ﷺ ordered us to dig a grave. Rasulullah ﷺ said, dig a grave for your brothers, for your brother, while carrying Juleybeeb. And he kept carrying Juleybeeb on his arms until we dug the grave, until we were finished digging the grave. And then he got into the grave. He came down the grave himself. He laid the body of Juleybeeb without any wash, of course, because he's a martyr. Martyrs don't get washed. And he laid him down, and he came out from the grave, and we started to put the dirt and the dust back on the body of Juleybeeb. So Anas ibn Malik said, Wallahi, he had no grave or no resting place other than the arms of Rasulullah ﷺ for an hour or more. An hour or more, that's a certain time. They didn't have clocks or watches at that time, but it's the time taken for them to dig a grave for a man. To dig a grave for a man. You go down like a meter or like let's say like 3 or 4 feet down. So it's like considerable amount of time. Then what do you think the other companions of Rasulullah ﷺ did after they buried Juleybeeb? Almost every one of them started to count in his hand the number of days from the death of Juleybeeb. Why? Because his wife has become a widow now, and a widow cannot marry unless a certain interval of time passes, like 4 months passes. Why did they start to count on their fingers like that? Because every one of them wanted to propose to her. Who wouldn't propose to a woman whom Rasulullah ﷺ made a prayer for her, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to pour everything good on her? Pour your good on her. and don't make her life hard. Who wouldn't, 3 times for each one of them, who wouldn't want to have this honor by marrying this woman? It is narrated that the wife of Juleybeeb was the richest woman in Medina, and she would spend and she would give away money for charity more than every or any other woman in Medina. She would give money even more than some of the companions of Rasulullah combined. She was the richest woman in Medina with the blessing of the prayer of Rasulullah. Now you know why Juleybeeb will go to Jannah. When Rasulullah says, he is part of me and I am part of him, we know that Juleybeeb will be in Jannah. Not just in Jannah, the highest rank of Jannah, the Firdaus, with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He is part of Rasulullah. Part here means he's one of me, one of my family, one of my clan. He is related to me. He will be with Rasulullah sallallahu in the Firdaus, because we know that Rasulullah sallallahu inshallah will be in the Firdaus. And this is the reason why I do the prayers every time, to make for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me to Juleybeeb as a servant, as a gift, as whatever, just to be with him. It's a selfish prayer, because I know if I go with him, I know where I am going and I will end. This was the story of Juleybeeb. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him. The man who had nothing other than the clothes on his body. The man who was not attractive, who was actually ugly. He didn't look good at all. The man who died at a very early age of his life, when he answered the call for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This ends the story of Juleybeeb. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him. Thank you very much for listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.